Hello, and welcome to Jazz Tonight. I'm Michael Jacobi, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaza and host of Raising the Standards on KSCO Radio in Santa Cruz. We continue our homage to the great Ella Fitzgerald as Jazz on the Plaza 2018 marches on, and we're delighted to welcome back an old friend. I think it's his third visit, right?
It is.
Spencer Day.
Hi, Mike.
How are you, buddy?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. You are... You're bi-coastal these days.
I guess, bipolar, bi-coastal, working
you got
all
the
the
deal. Living in New York and also living in San Diego.
Yes. Yeah, I was in LA for years, but I wanted to be in a house, and it's the best of both worlds. I can be in LA in 2 hours. I can be down in Mexico in 20 minutes, and then can be in New York whenever I need to, too. So it's been an awesome combination.
So we were talking about restaurants. San Diego, have you been to the Crack Shack?
Oh, yeah,
best chicken in the world.
Yeah, you have to explain what that is for those of you.
Yeah, we should. But the sponsors hate it when I go on these tangents. But San Diego's a great jazz scene. Sacha Boutros was here last week.
Yeah.
And she's located there. And Paris, she's done you one up on you.
That is the one up on me, yeah. And Gilbert Castellanos is fantastic too, especially for young jazz musicians. There's a lot of, the city seems to be very supportive of providing places for, high schoolers and beyond to kind of get started.
Now, you, as we talked about, this is your third visit. You were here when we did the Sinatra tribute in 2015. What was your first year? Do you remember?
I think maybe 2012.
2012, when you were a kid.
When I was.
And tomorrow you're turning 40.
I'm turning 40 tomorrow.
I have to tell you, he said to me, I'm turning 40, I'm starting to write my obituary. And I said, Lord, give me a break.
Well, get a start,
Wow, 40. Oh, wow, you must be awful. You mentioned Mexico. You have a really interesting part of your career involves Mexico and a lot of gigs down there. Tell me a little about it.
Well, I think I've had an affinity for Mexico ever since I was a kid, and I went to. There's a long since discontinued exchange program that my school had, where basically, we ended up as 13-year-olds, we just got to run wild for like a month in Mexico, and then we had an exchange student come and stay with us, and I think I was a very unpopular kid, and believe it or not, I know, yes. And but when I went down there, I remember when I went to school, because my mom, when my dad was no longer in the picture, my mom raised all 6 of us on her own, and we had, a brief period of food stamps and things like that. And I remember I got some kind of imitation Payless shoes to try to be cool, and all the kids, made fun of me, and that sort of thing happened. But when I went down there,
and now you have the real Payless shoes.
Yes,
nice.
I know. I'm moving on up to the east side.
That's right.
But I don't know, when I went down there, obviously, that was not as big of a priority there. But it was the first time I made friends, and maybe because I had nothing to lose, I was like, I'll try Menudo. I'll stay out till 2 in the morning. And I just, so I've always had a special place in my heart. And then over the last couple of years, I've somehow by chance started working down there a lot. Now that I live in San Diego, I'm actually collaborating with some great musicians down there.
Right? Yeah, but you work with the same guys when you're there.
Yeah.
You do Puerto Vallarta a lot?
I do. I've been going to Guadalajara and Tijuana.
Tijuana, okay.
Which, believe it or not,
is there a good jazz scene in Tijuana?
There is, actually. The Tijuana Jazz Festival is very good,
I need to come see you down there.
And a lot of people are really surprised, because I'll tell you, Tijuana is like the Brooklyn of San Diego. There's like, exciting stuff going on all the time. Most of it unsolved, as my friend. My friend. Wow. It's a complicated city, but it's a really fascinating place, and I also am really enjoying spending time there. I think in light of the tensions that everyone's feeling now, I also feel like if I can do anything to stand and be counted and kind of lend my talents to organizations that are there to help things.
Did you grow up in San Diego?
No, I grew up on a farm in Utah.
In Utah?
Well, I didn't grow up on the farm. I was born in Ogden, but then we moved to East Layton. I am not Mormon anymore. I was.
Yeah. A visit to Mexico will change that.
Yeah. That might have been right about the time it started changing things. But I'm very proud, culturally of the values I've taken away from it. But I am non-denominational Buddhist at the moment.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about, your dad was out of the picture early. Was there a lot of music in the house? And where are you on the line of siblings?
I'm the second oldest.
Okay.
And my mom sang...
brothers and sisters?
One sister and...
5 brothers?
5 brothers.
God bless her. I'm sure she's still in therapy.
Yeah, I think so. When she has well, now she's, all the kids are out of the house. She is, in a soft, sweet Mormon way. She's got to be. I mean, it's really amazing, and I'm very fortunate to had her as a mom to get through. It was very tough. I mean, we had to raise ourselves, and she would come home and just cry. Some nights she was so tired, and so we, we kind of were friends and confidants as well as the kids. But I, because of that, I think all my siblings, we have a pretty tight bond, because it was definitely difficult. But now that we're out of the house, the roles have reversed, where she's found love in her 60s after kind of having a I can relate to an unsuccessful period through her 30s. With that, and she, so now it's like the roles are reversed, where I'll be like, Mom, can you give me a call back? It's been a week. I haven't heard from you. How's it going? And she's getting to have fun and exercise and do all these things that she didn't get to do, which is wonderful.
Was there music in the house growing up?
She sang opera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she had an opportunity to audition for the Met in New York, but could not go because of her obligations. But yeah, beautiful. But weirdly enough, you never want to do what your parents want you to do, and there was a lot of tension, because my father, growing up, did not really approve of that or her pursuing a career in that, and that might be part of one of the reasons why things didn't work out for it. But she would want to give me piano lessons, and I took a few. But I, by that point, being a miserable 12-year-old, 13-year-old, didn't want to get.
That's
unfortunately,
redundant, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is actually absolutely. No one's more jaded.
Miserable and 12-year-olds. Trust me, I've been there.
Well, even for Billy Strayhorn writing The Lush Life at 16, because people are like, I mean, no one's more dark on life than someone at that age. Yeah. But unfortunately, I grew up in a town where I think being into music was something that was a point of ridicule. And if there's one thing I could change in my life, it would be to go back and not care as much. But now she feels like she's won, because I, against all of my protests, am doing it professionally.
So you grew up in a town that is where they film Dirty Dancing, apparently.
But no, pretty much, yeah.
But what is it? A gradual entry into jazz and to popular music, an epiphany one day. What happened? How did you all of a sudden take this route?
I think we had. I grew up with a lot of MGM musicals, because it was either that or Disney movies. We could just watch G-rated movies. So I went for the musicals, and so that gave me kind of, I think, the backbone of that, and also the desire to escape into things, because I think of where. I grew up, I was just a really unhappy kid. I would look at the kids on the milk cartons with intense jealousy, waiting to, not really, but I didn't know where they went.
True. Well,
but
won't someone take?
I knew that I didn't fit in, and so I didn't care about the plots for these movies. But anytime, like Bali High, or anytime there was a scene where they escaped into this fantastical place, I wanted to.
But were you playing music? Were you playing piano at that point?
No, not really. I mean, I think growing up Mormon, we all, sang some, because hymns and choir. But I didn't really. I really kept to myself. It wasn't until I was out of the house and in high school that I did. I mean, I did a little bit in high school, and I had my mom as the choir teacher, which everyone's going to make fun of you for that too. You're like, act like you don't know me.
Did you do musicals in high school?
No, we didn't really. I mean, that's when my senior year, actually, I lived on my own, and my mom was supportive. I went down to Phoenix and worked the graveyard shift at a Whataburger in Phoenix, because they did have a music program. So actually, my first. And they just kept, as they're doing a lot of schools, just cutting it in the town. At this point, my parents had split, and we were in Arizona. So yeah, I didn't really get serious about it until I was about 21 or so, and a roommate heard me sing in the shower and bought me my first Casio keyboard. And then around that time, at the end of high school, in our town, there was the one African-American family that I knew of that was there the next door, and I remember they were playing, I think, Billie Holiday or something, and they're kind of glorified mobile homes, like the area we are. They're in the ground, but they're kind of like, the prefab ones. And they didn't end up staying for very long, but I remember going and hanging out with them, and they introduced me to Sarah Vaughan and Chet Baker.
It's a wonderful thing to take out of a relationship.
It was really, really cool. And so by the time I got to California, and I didn't go on my Mormon mission, I had already had an interest in that, and then also at the same time was, discovering Patti Smith and Tori Amos and Paul Simon and Joni Mitchell and all of that.
Now, when you were a kid, or that era, were you writing were you writing poetry, or were you writing lyrics, or you weren't even taking a shot at it?
I was really miserable. That was my professional pastime, was being
we're
really
making
miserable.
that painfully clear, Spencer.
And I really wanted to not seem Mormon, but my black light broke and my lava lamp leaked, and I pierced my nose and it got infected, and I had blue hair, but it turned green. So like I couldn't scrub off the missionary sheen. I was
and you
trying
drank
so
coffee.
hard to be cool.
I bet you drank coffee.
Oh, I did.
With a fervor.
And my mom found it. You know
I'm
that.
having Coca-Cola, Mom. That's
I
it.
hope they're not a
Bring
sponsor.
on the caffeine. No.
I hope they're not a sponsor.
I
But
want
those
to thank the Utah Travel Bureau, by the way.
An International Delights coffee. You remember that, like
Yeah.
that sugary?
Yeah.
But I would drink, and my mom, it was like finding the drug stash. She was like, "Where's the stuff?" I found it because at 14, that was my act of rebellion. I would go to Denny's, and there's nothing else to do in this town. We would like run around in shopping carts, and prank call the Walmart, and then go to Denny's and just drink like 18 cups of that. Well, pardon me, Denny's. Terrible coffee.
Buzzed and miserable was the perfect combination.
Which is a good combination. And this was right when Kurt Cobain was,
Oh, my Lord.
So I was really into Nirvana, so I started a rumor that I was a heroin addict too. Because also I'd met the neighbors who were into Billie Holiday, and I didn't even know what I was doing about it. And so that's when my mom actually burst in my room, and she's like, "What's the stuff?" And then I was like, I hadn't done anything. I just wanted the kids to think, because the bullies, even they would leave me alone because they'd be like, "Wow, he's too hardcore for us." So I would go to school I would give myself like a hickey on my arm so that I would look. I had seen Kurt Cobain. This is why role models do matter.
And you're shooting Folgers.
And I told my mom, shooting Folgers, and that's the only thing I can get a hold of. And my mom was like, "Where's this?" Concerned because in a town of that, it doesn't take long to get back to your mom that you're Blue Ridge High's only junkie. Because I don't think at that time, it's probably different now. No one knew where to find anything like that. And then I told her, I was like, I just wanted to seem cool. And she told me that when she was in high school, she pretended to be drunk at the prom. And she said, "You can keep it going for 1 week.
Okay.
And then you're wrapping this up." Which is when she's like,
and then you go,
we're
cold
drying
turkey,
out.
and we're done. Let me take a break. This is the best interview so far this year. I'll tell you that. We're with Spencer Day. This is Jazz Tonight. A big thank you to our sponsor this year, the Pruneyard Cinemas, which is the South Bay's only dine-in theater at the Pruneyard, and it's marvelous. And it's a great bar with craft cocktails and 20 beers on tap and local wineries. Very hip, called the Cedar Room. And it's just a great experience, a reason to go back to the movies again. We'll break for a second to tell you a little more about it. Be right back with Jazz Tonight.
Hello, and welcome to Pruneyard Cinemas, Silicon Valley's most unique movie-going experience, and the South Bay's only service-to-your-seat luxury theater. Since this concept is probably new to many of you, let me take a moment to help you make the most of your visit. At the Pruneyard, the show starts long before the film begins. From our media wall in our lobby, keeping you up to date on happenings here at the theater, to our concessions area, which is, well, pretty special. Oh, you had dinner and cocktails in mind? Well, you came to the right place. Our chef-driven kitchen and Cedar Room offers seasonal bites which pair perfectly with our craft cocktails, draft beers, and local wines, and are all available at the bar and at your seat. It's really quite simple. If you'd like something from concession, something from the kitchen, or from the bar, just press the call button to your right, and one of our servers will be with you in no time. So that's it, just place your order. Thank you. They will be back with your check long before that critical scene in the movie. Our goal is to not disrupt you or your neighbor's experience. So just put up your feet and enjoy the show.
And we're back. Again, thanks, Pruneyard Cinemas. And thanks to TaylorMade Golf. You can't see their logos right now because we're sitting on them, but TaylorMade Golf donated these chairs. Aren't these great?
Yeah.
And they're comfortable.
I feel like Cecil B. DeMille.
Well, see, now, normally when you have the conversations we're having, you're probably laying down on the sofa talking to a doctor. So
Yes.
it's when you're opening up like that.
But now I need a megaphone and I can
That's
make
it,
an actress
that's it.
cry and with a cast of thousands. I'm ready to be a tyrant.
Hashtag me neither. But I love that story about it. Okay, so you are a bit, you're Frank Lesser, Cole Porter. You know, you do words and lyrics, or you do music and lyrics.
I do, yeah.
And folks that have seen Spencer here before, he certainly knows his way around the American Songbook, and is quite rapidly becoming part of that book because your stuff is wonderful.
Oh, thanks. Well, some of it, I mean, I collaborate. Sometimes hopefully he gets to come tonight. My friend Cliff Goldmacher and I have written some songs, and he's been great as a lyricist, as a teacher as well, because melodies were always what came to me first, usually.
And you did that by ear on the keyboard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you read music now?
I am tonight at this thing. I'm like hanging on. I'm like, okay, they're going up.
You were
There's
saying,
a break there. I know that means
you're with our house band, Full Spectrum Jazz, which is an 18-piece band, and you were saying it's a little daunting because.
Well, I was doing a gig in New York, and then I was in Mexico before that, so I just hadn't, it's been kind of gig to gig, and I listened to the recordings, and I've known Ella Fitzgerald's, of course, my favorite singer. She and Chet Baker and Katie Lang, but I'd say Ella was, whenever I wanted to hear how a song was done right.
Yeah.
Ella was who you go to hear it, because she would take liberties, but you never lost the core of the song. Like all of the improvisation choices she made were so musical. And so some of the recordings, and then you actually start to sing it, and you're like, wow, crap, this is so much harder than I thought it would be. But I did go to Cal Arts for one semester. That was I got a $13,000 for scholarship for opera, but the tuition there is more than twice that. And it's a very prestigious school, and I never researched
sing opera?
it. No, I don't sing opera. I went in and was like, kind of put on my fake opera voice. I mean, my mom, I had a couple lessons in high school choir.
We gave a scholarship to this heroin addict.
Well, and as in high school, I never even researched the school to see. I mean, I really did want to write, and Berkeley School of Music or something would have made more sense. But I heard they had a clothing optional pool when I was 16, and I heard it was in California, and I thought it must have been on the beach, like in Malibu, and it's kind of inland. And the teachers were great, but the piano teacher, I was determined to learn Rhapsody in Blue. That's when I first got carpal tunnel and tendonitis at like 19. And I went down there, and she's like, "You're not reading this at all, are you?" Because my mom had taught me, like every good boy does, fine, and I would pencil it in, but I would just listen to the recording to it and play through it. And then by the end of the semester, I had to stop because I was like in splints. Basically, I didn't listen to my body. And then I wanted to write, and they didn't really have a program for that for singer-songwriters. And the choir teacher, who was very cool, just said, "Go out and do it. You'll be fine." And so I started playing dive bars and piano bars. And a gentleman I heard when I was singing at this dive bar when I was right around that time when I dropped out of my one semester there, I would sing, a Chet Baker song, and then as soon as I finished, I would say, like, I'm really sorry, that was terrible, I could do better. And then he came up to me after, he was like, "Honey, you can't do that, you can't. And he took me back to his place, and I was, he's in his 70s, I didn't kind of know at that age, I was like, are there any expectations here? And he just played clips of the Judy Garland show and Frank Sinatra, and he and Debbie Reynolds, he knew her, and he was a great character actor named Michael Greer, who passed away from AIDS not long after. He was kind of my only mentor, really, at about 21 for a year. And I don't know, because it's Hollywood, people might have thought when we would go out in public that there was some sort of arrangement, when actually he was at that point did not have any money. I mean, he hadn't hung on to his royalties and was blind as a bat and always drunk. So I would be driving him everywhere, and he lived with his aunt Marion, who was 105, and she was a Christian Scientist, and I would wheel her around the Silver Lake Reservoir, and she would talk about how it was all orange groves. But through him, I met Debbie Reynolds, and then Ann Miller, Carol Channing, Betty Hutton, and I think they were impressed that this young, nerdy kid knew all of this old Hollywood history. So that's how I started learning standards, too, is they would just keep introducing me to songs. They could all drink me under the table.
Well, it's amazing what similar paths your life and mine has taken, because I turned down Harvard because they didn't have skinny dipping Mondays. So just got out.
Natural,
it was a good move.
Deal breaker.
Your new CD, LA, is it called?
Angel City.
Angel City. Did you write all the cuts?
I wrote all of them. Some of them are co-writes with some fantastic writers that I've done too. Sometimes, if something's too close to me, it's great to come to, for example, my friend Cliff, because he can kind of provide the outside perspective of how to do it. Sometimes if something's about heartbreak, it can be so close to you, you need a little bit of...
Let me do my usual disclaimer, is that by the time you see this, Spencer will either be back in New York or San Diego, and you will have missed a remarkable program, which is tonight as we tape it. You do a tune, which you're kind enough to do for me tonight, called the California Yes, which to me is as good a lyric as I've ever heard describing relationships, whether it's love, parental, business, friendships. It's a remarkable. And I'm not going to ask you to sing, but do a couple of lyrics. Tell me the tune.
Let's see, what are some of my, a California, yes, a probable likely at best. So if some pretty baby keeps telling you maybe, you might as well pack up and go. 'Cause a maybe is a possibly, probably, certainly, always a definite no. Which if you live in California...
That is so right. That is just...
You know that in California, if someone says like, "I'll try to make it to your party," it means they're not coming. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you like that one.
I just love it. And thank you for doing it tonight. How many CDs do you have?
This is my 6th full one. I've had 2 major label ones, and then 4 self-produced ones.
Is that by choice?
The self-produced part? In part, I think it's a strange time to be signed to a major label. I'm on very good terms with my last
It's tough.
label.
I mean, to do it on your own. On the other hand, the upside is huge.
Yeah.
Because in the old days, the major labels had promotion departments and they really supported you, but you don't get the support.
No, I mean, I loved everyone at Concord, my last record label that was there, but I could see the frustration that they were having with them as just the entire models changing on them. And so, if your hands are tied, it's really hard to think creatively and also promote your talent when you're just worried about keeping your head above water. Yeah. So I think that, they've been much smarter than some labels in that they've acquired. I just met a woman who owns the publishing or the catalogs for Rodgers and Hammerstein, and I guess she's in negotiations or was talking about them because Concord invited him down to her show. So I've been great. Concord has still set me up to write with Jane Monheit and David Benoit and a lot of other great artists that are on their label. She's killer.
You know Michael well, Feinstein.
I've had frozen yogurt with him a couple of times. I don't know if that counts as well, but he's a lovely guy.
And you talk about your story.
That's a weird thing
you talk about your story and your mentor. I mean, Michael worked with Ira Gershwin toward the end of his life and put together the catalog, and did the inventory on it, which what a remarkable.
He's the go-to guy.
Oh, isn't he? I made the mistake of once. Are you sure it was Gershwin? And I realized who I was talking to. Michael, I'm going to go with Gershwin. What a sweet man. And you're going to be coming up for the folks, again, whether you see Spencer tonight or in the future, you're going to be in Feinstein's in August at the Nico, right?
I'll be there on the 24th and 25th of August, which is great because
Great venue. I love it. Yeah. I love the building. Love the room.
It always allows me to focus on a lot of storytelling and kind of doing intimate stuff that sometimes when you're playing a bigger outdoor concert or something. Though actually the one tonight is a great size too because it's still weirdly for being outside, it still feels intimate enough, and the sound is so good that you guys dial in.
But you know what's nice about a Feinstein's? It allows you to do a kind of program. Tommy Tune does one that you can stop and say, it's a great story that you can't do in a big venue.
When I played the Hollywood Bowl, I quickly realized.
You tell your heroin story.
At the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah. Well, it just what I realized because when I did it and I did my own set, it was a co-bill, but I got a headline the Hollywood Bowl, which was amazing. And but when there's 17,000, when I started actually. There's 16,000 people, and just the sound of 1,000 people setting up their blankets and opening their chicken wings is like, well, I don't know if opening your chicken wings makes a lot of noise, but it's really hard to focus, but it also, everything has to be in very broad strokes. Yeah, like telling a little story about something is not gonna work. You have to be like, hello, everybody. Yeah. It's which is fun in its own way because of the level of energy that's coming. But a room like Feinstein's is really my favorite to play because it's like you're hosting a house concert.
We've got a couple of minutes left. You're very high on your bucket list, if not number one, is writing a musical.
That's
well, I imagine writing a musical and getting it on Broadway and making a lot of money. That's the other half of it. Those are nice as well.
So finding the right project. Actually, I've talked to Tommy Tune in the past. He's had some really cool ideas.
I've had him on the air a few times. What a funny guy.
Yeah,
what a nice man.
He's awesome. And he's got a few things. That's how I initially met him. Was a friend who's worked with Sarah Bareilles on Waitress on Broadway. Introduced me to him. Okay. And there's several people in New York I'm excited to keep talking about getting the musical going. I can write you a story and a song, but I think
you need
writing
the
a book.
yeah,
I need the
around it,
book writer. So
Yeah.
I'm excited when I get back to New York that I'll be there through the rest of the year to be taking these from just something up here and turning it into something.
You're spending 6 months in each, or how you do it?
About half a month in each, though. So I'm in New York for
So
half
you're
a
there every
month,
month?
fly back. Yeah, through the end of the year at
Oh,
least.
good. So you get to enjoy summer in New York,
I do.
which is why there's no songs about it, by the way.
So, why does August in New York? Why does it smell like cat piss? August in New York. Only Calcutta compares.
Wait.
Smells like trash. Yeah, you did. It is autumn in New York for a reason, isn't it? Yeah.
Without the garbage strike. Spencer Day, I can't say how delighted I am that you are back.
Oh, it's so
you
great
are,
to be here, Mike.
You are a thrill, and between you and our buddy John Prue, you are my go-to people that I know the crowd loves. They're always saying, "Why don't you bring so-and-so back?"
It's
Thank
an
you, my
honor.
brother.
Thank
It's
you,
sure
Mike.
good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
It's good to know so much more about you.
Yeah, that I've never talked about before.
That is Jazz Tonight. Thanks to the folks at the Pruneyard Cinemas. Next week, 4th of July, we're off. And we'll be back with Amy Cervini and Sarah and Peter. Until then, I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon.